Okay, all right. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
We are back. Um, we actually are going to deviate some from our normal schedule. Actually, on a Torah schedule, the this week's portion kind of leads up to next week's portion. So I figured I'd bunch them all both together and just look at something else this week. I want to look at the book of John instead of the Torah portion this week. We want to look at some things called this looking at the words of the master. I saw a few things that I wanted to kind of go into a little bit, talk about, get some thoughts on, and see if we could get some, insight into. I think through these verses that we're going to look at, we'll be able to see, the Messiah talks a little bit about his character, his makeup, who he is, essentially. He hints to it. And I wanted to kind of go over some of that in some of 12, some of 13, and some of 14 of the book of John. So we'll go over there. Let me pull up the we're gonna start. Actually gonna start at verse 35 of the 12th chapter of John. Let me just do this one thing real quick. Okay, verse 35. Okay, for now, I want to just look at, let's see here, just 35 and 36. We'll just look at these two verses and talk about them a little bit before we go too far. John 12, verse 35 and 36. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeshua therefore said to them, "Yet a little while the light is with you. Walk while you have the light, lest darkness overtake you. And he who walks in darkness does not know where he was going. While you have the light, believe in the light, so that you become sons of the light." These words Yeshua spoke and went off and was hidden from them.
Okay, very good. So, okay, so again, looking at these, the verses that we'll be looking at here, we'll be able to see some interesting things in regards to the nature of Yeshua. There's a lot of confusion when we look at Yeshua because of the fact that he lived as a man. So sometimes we kind of get stuck with trying to understand who he is, essentially, because we think about what we see of him as a man. But here we're going to see some things and we're going to be able to pick up on some things that he's showing his disciples, and essentially us, in regards to this. So when we look over here at verse 35, he starts talking about light. Yet a little while the light is with you, but he's referring to himself. Walk while you have the light, lest darkness overtake you. he's speaking of this thing, which is itself, and referring to himself as light. He's talking to his disciples because, you know, he's getting to the point where he's getting ready to die, right? He's about to go through his death, right? But he's referring to himself as light. Walk while you have the light, darkness, lest darkness overtake you, and he who walks in darkness does not know where he is going. I wanted to just real quick look over at the beginning of John. Let me see if I can. John 3, I think it's verse 4. Nope, it's chapter 1, verse 4. I'll just read from 1 through 4, I guess.
In the beginning
just
was
to
the
get
Word,
the context.
and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim. He was in the beginning with Elohim. All came to be through him, and without him not one came to be. They came to be. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. Okay, so we read that for the context, but we get a couple things that we'll see over in these chapter 12 over here in terms of this idea of Yeshua being referred to as the Word. It's been referred to as the Word. We'll get back to the Word, but here we're talking about this idea of light. But we also learn this other thing that is bringing up is this idea. It says, in him was life, and the life was the light of men. Right? So we see all these things that are connected to Yeshua, the Word, the life, this light thing. Let me get back over. I just want to bring that up so we could just think about it. Back to 12 and 35. Okay, so he's again talking about himself, referring to himself as a light. He's about to go, but he wants for his disciples to be sure that they're filled with light, lest darkness overtake them, right? Verse 36, while you have the light, believe in the light so that you become sons of light. These words Yeshua spoke and went off and was hid in front of him. So what I wanted to first just kind of deal with is this idea of becoming sons of light, right? He's telling his disciples that he would like for them to actually become sons of light. So what makes you then the sons of light? What is it that's making you the sons of light? Well, in what regard? How?
You said what makes you a son of light?
Yeah. Based on
believing in him.
That's right.
Okay, yeah, he says right there, right? Believe in the light so that you become sons of light. But that's kind of abstract though, right?
What you mean?
It's not, it's kind of non-specific. Like if I say I believe in the light, what's that even mean? Like what is it? What does that mean?
We gotta understand, even Satan knows who he is and believe who he is. And the belief and action is two different things.
Yeah, say walk while you have them. So I guess like
go ahead, walk.
Go ahead, you on to something. What you saying?
Walk while you have.
You stopped in the middle.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to put it in the way I'm the way I'm interpreting it is like walking his way. Because while you have him, you walk his way or walk by the way he wants you to, or walk his way, and while you have him, and just keep it, and that way you become.
I agree with that.
Like him. That's the way I'm interpreting it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what it's saying, right? Walk while you have the light, lest darkness overtake you. Take advantage of this light that's here while it's here. If you walk in the darkness, you're not going to know where you're going. You need the light to walk. Again, he's referring to his own self as this light, right? While you have the light, believe in the light. I went back to 1 John because the connection between the light, who was here, the light is talking about Yeshua, is talking about himself. I went back to 1 John chapter 1 because we have the idea of the word being incorporated in this thing, that's these things that are describing Yeshua for us, right? So there's since we could say that Yeshua is the light, and since we could say that Yeshua is the word, we could, it seems like we could also say that the word is the light. So if we walk then in the word, believing in the word, we become sons of light.
Can I compare something to different thoughts?
Go ahead.
So we believe, of course, that we walk the walk and talk the talk.
Yeah.
So, most, Christians believe that it's just the belief part.
Mm-hmm.
And they leave out, the walk part.
Right.
They say that, we can't do what Yeshua did.
Mm-hmm.
We can't. He did it for us.
Yeah.
So we don't have to do it. So, something suggests in this scripture here is that it's not only believing in the light, but it's actually walking in the light.
Yeah.
It's a twofold process. It's not one or the other. And so a lot of people believe that it's just the one. It's just the belief system.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also the walk.
Yeah, it has to be more than like a mental thing, because when we think about, I like the way that he started off talking about in terms of this idea of walking in the light, because I can be in a place, I could know where I need to get to. The place could be lit up. I could see where I need to get to, but I gotta actually walk over there in order to be there.
Right.
I can't just kind of just poof and magically appear over there. It got to be action, right?
And the light is moving.
The light is moving.
The light is moving. And if you don't move with it, guess what?
Well, it complements Matthew. It complements Matthew's 5:14 through 16.
What'd that say?
When we're called to be light to the world. We're called to be light.
What the verse say? What verse you talking about?
Let your light shine. Let your light shine. Let's see. I know.
You are the light of the world. It is impossible for the city.
13.
Yeah, and it's through 16. You are the soul.
14.
Yeah, you are the light of the world. It is impossible for a city to be hidden on a mountain, nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it shines to all those in the house. Let your light so shine before men, so that they see your good works and praise your Father who is in heaven. So
hold on, read that 16 one more time.
16. Let your light shine, so shine before men, so that they see your good works and praise your Father who is in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
So what I get out of that and I apply it to the life that I'm living is that we're called to emulate Christ, emulate Yeshua. So therefore, if we walk in the light, then we project the light that's in us. If we simulate his ways and his teaching and his style, that we also become light to the world, which is dark. Look at today. Many of us is waking up, but there's a lot of them that still sleep. But it's those that are awoken that's actually trying to awake the sleep. So therefore, in that aspect, if they're living according to the teaching of Yeshua, they're being a light to them to show them the way, to go to the path that's narrow, that very few finds. So in that aspect, we're actually being what we're called to do, which complements John, which you were speaking of initially.
Yeah. This whole idea of being light, walking in light, believing in light, is not kind of a passive thing. Is action. There's action involved. There's movement involved. The other thing that is said in the other thing that is said was, let me just read it real quick. The other thing that is said in John that we read, we saw that they talked about the word being Yeshua, the light being Yeshua, but this other word, in him was life, and the life was the light of men. So life, something that's alive, is not dead, right? It's not this dead kind of stagnant thing. It's something that's alive and moving, right? Light, as Chris brought up, is moving. We can't see that it's moving, but it's moving, right? It's alive, right? So I want to think about these things as we go on in terms of this idea of action and movement, but also connecting this with the word. Okay, so let's keep on going. Anybody have any thoughts before we keep on going? Okay, let's read.
Oh yeah, well, I got one.
Good.
It's small, but like being a light to others. I kind of wanted to get like elaborate on that a little bit more, I guess.
Oh,
Like
what you mean?
when you're like in my case, like just beginning to understand and get woke, like, so it's kind of hard to, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of hard to teach or tell. I mean, I've been telling others, but I'm still like in the beginning process.
Well, this really isn't about teaching. It's about
just showing
what you do.
Showing,
it's
yeah,
more
you're right. You're right. So
your action.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
So
saying?
you can't tell. You can do this all day long, but you got
right.
Yeah. But you got to actually be, because that's going to be where. Okay, never mind. Go
ahead. When you think about it, when you think about this idea of becoming sons of light, being filled with the light, so much to the point where you become like the offspring of the thing that you're filled with, right? Again, when we talking about this light, we're comparing it to the actual word, right? So we're filling ourselves with the word, right? So much so that we become like offsprings of the word, right? So there's definitely an intake part that needs to go on, and a filling up. Yeah.
That's what I was
Yeah. And that's what he's trying to impress upon them, his disciples at the time, because he's about to go.
Yeah, so you got to consume all of that.
All that you can. Right? Well, that's what he's saying to them, right? But as a process, that's what we need to do. Like we kind of become engulfed in the light so that we could be light. But we go on, but it's still like we still on the same thing when we go on. I just want to read it. Let's see here. Just the next, just 37 and 38, I guess.
But though he had done so many signs before them, they did not believe him, that the words of Yeshua, the prophet,
that's
Yeshua, the prophet, might be filled, which he spoke. Yahoo has believed our report, and to whom has the arm of Yah been revealed?
Okay, so again, if we just go back, right? Wow. You have the light, believe in the light, so that you become sons of light. He spoke that and went off and was hidden from them. But even though Yeshua had done all of these things, there were people who did not believe in the light. Even though Yeshua was going around doing all of these marvelous works there was still people who were seeing all the things that he was doing, seeing him and his light, and they wasn't believing. And then here, the writer here is bringing up this prophecy here from Isaiah 53. So I wanted to actually think about these questions here from Isaiah 53. It's quoted directly from it. Who has believed our report, and to whom has the arm of Yahweh been revealed? So in the context, the people who he's talking about is Israel, who didn't believe. Those among Israel who didn't believe, that's where he's at. He's in the land. He's doing things amongst the children of Israel in the land. They're the ones that aren't believing. So when we look at this question here, who has believed our report, we can see who didn't believe the report. Right? We can see who didn't believe the report.
Mhm.
But I'm saying who did believe the report, though.
Those who went and walked.
Well, yeah, but yeah, that's correct. But when I think about this verse, right, it's interesting because of how it's worded and how history played out. When we think about where mainstream Christianity is. Hold on one second. When we see where mainstream Christianity is, Gentiles have believed our report. The question is, who has believed our report?
Everybody else but us.
That's who believed,
Everybody else but us.
right? So we're in a place now where you have this people who believed in the light that they saw. They believed in the light, but they were kind of disconnected from the foundation of the light. So we have this thing called mainstream Christianity that, we got the same book. I got King James version too.
It wasn't really for them. That's why they didn't.
Well,
they didn't have to. I would say they didn't have to.
Right. It wasn't directed directly to them. Right. So what you have is a people believing in the thing and kind of changing it into this new thing. That's void of, because the report, it says, is our report. Who has believed our report? Look at Romans 3:1-2. I'll just pull it up right over. Romans 3. What was the verses 1 and 2?
Verses 1 and 2.
Yeah. Read that.
What then? Go ahead. What then is the advantage of the how you pronounce that?
The Yehudi,
or what is the value of the circumcision? Much in every way, because firstly, indeed, that they were entrusted with the word of Elohim.
Okay, right there. So Paul has a question. What's the advantage of the Yahudim? What's the advantage? What's the value of the circumcision? Then he answers it. Much in every way. There's much advantage and there's much value, right? Because first of all, the Yahudim, Israel, they were entrusted with the words of Elohim. Right? So when we thinking back to now the question that we're talking about in terms of who has believed our report, we look around and the majority of people are the ones who actually did believe in our report. They never had this part. They never had this part, these words of Elohim. They didn't really, because you looking at it from like this foreign perspective, right? So, we have these, we have the situation now where we have kind of the majority of the people who believe in the Bible are kind of believing from kind of this Greek,
like Roman
mind. These things that are foreign to, where it originated from. So, it becomes a great problem. So, again, if we think about this whole idea of light and being filled with light and believing in light and being sons of light, we have to be able to understand, what that actually means, and it can't be disconnected from the actual words of Elohim, right? And the foundation that has been set, which is, Torah, the law, right? All right, let me just pull back over. Anybody have any?
This is Ezekiel the 3rd chapter, because it was already told that other people would believe the report before we did. So what happened in the New Testament was already kind of prophesied. So Ezekiel 3, I'm gonna start at 4. It says, "And he said unto me, Son of man, go thee to the house of Israel, and speak my words unto them. For thou art not sent to a people of a strange speech or of a hard language, but to the house of Israel. Not to many people of a strange speech or a hard language, whose words thou canst not understand. Surely had I sent thee to them, they would have hearkened unto thee. But the house of Israel will not hearken unto thee, for they will not hearken unto me. For the house of Israel are impudent and hard-hearted."
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we know that, yes, we know that it happened. We saw that it was even prophesied even to happen. We on this side of the situation, being able to look at things from the proper perspective is helpful for us to acknowledge these things, because we have to deal with people who, in mainstream Christianity are looking at these things from this kind of skewed situation. But what I'm saying is that when we look at what Yeshua is teaching, we're able to kind of decipher all of these things from what he's saying. We're able to understand when he's talking about this light again and being filled with it. It's not abstract. It's not just this mystical thing that he's talking about. It's the word that has always been, right? And if we take it back to the foundation and understanding these kind of foundational principles, it makes all of these things, it makes everything just so much easier for us. I'm sorry, did you have something?
No, he kind of said it because I was a little bit confused with the report, but he said it like everybody else believed it but us.
Right.
But I noticed that when I don't have the Quran, I only have the Bible. When we start reading, but I noticed with each generation, it was like a more disconnect. Like Abraham, we're in the beginning of the Bible, we're reading at home, but Abraham was more listen, he never questioned anything. But we're on a part with Moses, and he kind of, even though he was listening, he was more doubtful. It just seemed like it was a stronger disconnect as you go down the line. We're still in this part. We're not even at when Israel actually expands, but
yeah,
it's just not as he told Abraham, get up and leave your family's house, your father's land. I'll tell you, he do it. But when he tell Moses to go talk, Moses is like, but I'm not a good speaker. It's totally different.
Yeah, it's a journey. It's a journey. But it is kind of cyclical, right? Because I don't know how far you get, but you're going to find out that nobody that walked on earth was closer to the Almighty than Moses, right? Abraham did have that thing that he did, that was a great show of faith by just walking, just going blindly. Go to this place and I'm
He
gonna
was
show you.
about to sacrifice his son. Like,
Well-
didn't even question
well-
that, because that's
Well, I'm saying the first thing he did was a great show of faith. But then there's things in the middle that kind of show where his faith wavered all the way up to that point where he gets to that. So yes, Abraham, I mean, we can't say anything about Abraham. He's the father of the faith. Because of Abraham and his faith, we are. Right. This is a blessing that the Most High promised to Abraham.
right.
It's the only reason why we're the people.
Right.
Right. Because he saw something in somebody's faith all the way back there.
Right.
But it is kind of cyclical where you have these ones who are strong in faith, but at the same time, you are always able to see that human element. You know, they're not superheroes, they're just human beings. And they all have their flaws, which, they're humans. We all do. And it's good, I would say, even that we're able to see those because we're able to relate. They're not like these people that's going around with these capes on, flying around being perfect. There was one person that was perfect. And he's Yeshua, right? So everybody else is, we got all kinds of problems. But it's definitely good. But again, you're attacking this thing from the right way in terms of going back to the beginning and working your way up. Right?
That's the way, yeah.
Because when you can't just, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy that these people come up with these half of Bibles that they would give out. You ever get one of those little New Testament Bible?
Gideon Bible. Small one.
Little half a Bible.
Yeah.
It don't got none of the Old Testament in it.
Excuse me, it's so funny. When I was at the establishment I was at, and a couple of the staffs, they want to know the truth. And I've been spending so many hours sharing to them what they really need to know. Though they came into the truth, but what they were saying to me tickled me because they was like, we never really read the Old Testament because we was always giving them this little Bible, and we learned about Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And we were told that God loved everybody in the world, And so I was like, did you know why we needed a redeemer? Why did we needed a Messiah? They didn't even know, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that. That's what you can't take nothing away from the New Testament, but you have to be able to look at it in its perspective. You have to be able to look at it and deal with it as it relates to the so-called Old Testament, because otherwise you're doing it wrong. Otherwise you're not looking at it properly, right? But let's keep on going because we see more things that's going on. Because so not only do we see that Israel wasn't believing the report, and we saw two places where it said that they wasn't going to believe it. If we keep on going, verse hold on, let me see how far I want to go down. Let's read down to 39 to 43. 39.
John, right?
Yeah, we're looking at John 12. We want to read from 39 down to 43.
39, okay. Because of this, they were unable to believe. Because again, Yahshua, pronounce that.
That's Yeshayahu. That's Isaiah.
Yeshayahu said, He has blinded their eyes and hardened their hearts, so that they should not see with their eyes and understand with their heart and turn, and I should heal them. Yeshayahu said this when he saw his esteem and spoke of him. Still, even among the rulers, many did believe in him, but because of the Pharisees, they did not confess him, lest they should not be put out of the congregation, for they loved the praise of men more than the praise of Elohim.
Okay, so this is something else that we see. So, besides the fact that, again, we look at the broad picture. We look at the broad picture. We always have to remember that at the end of the day, the Most High is desires to redeem mankind. Right? There was a problem with mankind before Israel was even created. Right? When we go all the way back to the garden, there was a problem. Right? So Israel is the way that mankind is actually redeemed back to the Father. So when we think about the broad scope of things, the Most High has this grand plan to redeem mankind. So in that plan, we see that his people, it said, he has blinded their eyes and hardened their heart, so that they should not see with their eyes and understand with their heart and turn, and I should heal them. Right? So there will be a redemption from this thing that has happened, but we have to also understand the fact that we kind of in the middle of this situation where there has been over the years kind of this concealing of things from his people. But at the same time, as we read here, at the same time, you have these people who kind of are secretly believing, right? But not confessing as a result of these ones who are empowered, these Pharisees, the rulers, right? Verse 32, even among the rulers, many did believe in him, but because of the Pharisees, they did not confess him, lest they should be put out of the congregations, right? So I mean, I've experienced this in 2019. I'm saying now, right? When you deal with people who, again, thinking about mainstream Christianity, when you deal with people and they get, they have their positions, right? They have their places that they've been placed in, from putting in their work at their specific congregations or whatever. Just from a carnal perspective, and that's the only place you could take it really, but from a carnal perspective, when you have these people who have made all of these advances in their little organizations and so on and so forth, and then here come you sitting up here talking about that the law has not been done away with, and you need to be forsaking your sun worship and come into the truth.
Right.
Now, from their perspective, oh, what you mean? I got to walk away from all of this stuff that
all this comfortable
they
stuff.
just, right. So even when they know the information, they still don't really take it serious because of the tradition they got in, because of the position of if they got power or whatever. They don't want to lose that. That's their fear. So that would be the prime example, I guess, of not confessing it because of they're and to me, I feel like deep down inside, you're ashamed to really say that you believe what you heard.
I think so too.
You know what I mean? Because once you hear it, once that seed is planted and our man is powerful. Your man thinks about that. Anything somebody tell you. So once somebody tell you something, your man's going to make you think on that, but you won't put it behind you because you don't really want to come to all these others. You're really ashamed for real, that you kind of believe this thought that was there. So you just going to let it stay there.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, right, that's your carnal mind doing that. right? For they love the praise of men more than the praise of Elohim. It's these carnal connections, these earthly connections that get made, and those things become stronger than your connection to the Almighty. Right, exactly. So what we see going on today is no different than what Yeshua was talking to his disciples about, what we seen back there. You got people who are not willing to walk away from things that they could, in behind closed doors, admit that all of these things are a lie. But they wouldn't dare get up and talk in front of these people, in the middle of these, there's sun worship. They wouldn't dare go and talk against the teachings of the whatever church it is that they
what that
connected
reminds
to.
me of? The itching ears in Timothy. How they were they would abandon the truth, and they won't endure the sound doctrine for so long. They will seek to themselves other people that can tell them lies, you know what I'm saying? Because they got itching ears. They want to know more, They get too comfortable with what they know, and so they always want to seek something else. The scriptures tells us that's going to happen. So they seek to themselves these people that's going to tell them things they actually want to hear, and that they will believe a fable, like you spoke of. Those other books, they might as well believe in Star Wars. So those is like itching ears and fables of such. Because it's like one of my quotes said, they speak sugar-coated lies distasteful to the listeners without them knowing the ingredients of deception. That's really what's going on today,
They like to be comfortable with lies.
A lawless people by a lawless leader.
Yeah. And I think something that we had to understand is that this life is not comfortable. It's not comfortable. It's not popular. It's not it can't be mainstream. It can't be mainstream. If you saying that you are a disciple of Yeshua, and everybody's doing it, I think that you should be reevaluating your situation. Like I don't understand how there can be kind of safety in the what mainstream Christianity is. Like, it's so big, it's so you know what I mean? It's so vast, it's so wide, it's so broad. But Yeshua talk about the straight gate, right? So right there, to me, that that's a huge sign that's letting me know that there got to be something up with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If everybody's doing a thing, there got to be something wrong with it. Just because it's a simple fact that everybody's doing it.
You know what, Tom? What became recently one of the scariest verses in the Bible to me was Hebrews 10:26. What we talked about. And for if we sin willfully, after that we have received the knowledge of truth. There remains no more sacrifice for sin.
Mm-hmm.
That scared the little bit of hell I had in me out of me, which was good.
Yeah.
That's
what it should. It should do that in you. Hold on. What did I just do?
It really did, man, because that was like a wake-up call, eye opener right then there.
Like, basically, if you're like sinning after you know these things, and you still
continue.
No, but that's so true, because ever since I had like a breakdown 2 weeks ago, that's what led me to get back to get my relationship right with God. It was nothing tragic happened. It was just like a breakdown, and I just ended up reaching out to Chris. But it seemed like the more that get revealed to me every day, it start conflicting with things that I was going to still continue to do. Like my mind, like it won't let me. It'll make me feel like I know better or something like that. So I can understand. It is scary. It is a scary thought as far as still doing it continuously. Like I really can't. It's a lot of like even to the point where certain things that I can't even listen to music comfortably.
Right.
Even if it's a song that's not saying nothing about killing, I'm not comfortable because I feel like it's straddling. You know what I mean? But at one point in time, I've always had a spiritual connection because I grew up at Adventist, even though I strayed away. But I would have been able to just, this is a good song. It's a nice song. So I can't even.
I just like the beat.
Right. I can't do it.
Like knowing the truth. Yeah,
I can't. I'm talking about the past.
Like, it does something to you.
It does something to you because before we hadn't from each other what we know on this and that, but it's like he sees. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't care who don't know down here what I'm doing. The one who really mattered, he said everything that I do.
So
you know what's
and I think that you know that's good what you're doing, and you need to keep on doing that because as soon as you start to kind of suppress that kind of you know, that kind of unctioning, that's when the unctioning gets weaker.
Yeah.
And your carnal mind gets stronger. Right. It's just like that big brother, right? If you sit up there, the little brother might be growing up and getting bigger, but until that little brother actually kind of manifests itself against the big brother, it don't matter how big he is and how strong he get, the big brother gonna always have that something over him because he don't really know. He never really manifests his own little strength. Right. So that happens with you spiritually. The Most High comes and dwells inside of you. And you know, he created the heavens and the earth, and he dwells inside of you. But he's not until you strengthen him by your will, and you giving over to your will, your little carnal mind is going to overtake the creator of heaven and earth in you. If you let it. When you listen to his voice and you allow that light to grow inside you, you know, the one gets stronger and the one gets weaker. Whichever one you feed, that's which one.
Because it's like my eyes open. And that's why I'm telling her, I was like, babe, just keep talking to me, just keep talking and keep speaking it, because it'll be like sometimes I can see my eye like plug. It feel like it's like closing, not literally like my eyes is closing, but it feel like the other one, like you said, will take over more and overpower the one that I'm just now really opening. Yeah, exactly.
I understand. It's equivalent to a third eye spirit.
There you go.
Like I was explaining, I'll give you an example. It was yesterday where someone asked me, they asked me a question and tried to give me the answer to the question they asked me. I said, well, why'd you ask me the question anyway if you don't want to hear the answer? It was talking about the name. Well, God is God and etc. I said, man, God is just a title. He does have a name, you know that. You know, so I asked him, I said, what is your name? I'll just throw out another name. Tim. I said, okay, Tim, how would you like for me to keep calling you Mr. or man? Every time I see you, hey, Mr. Hey, man. I said, eventually it's going to get on your nerve and you're going to tell me something. So you're going to tell me that's not my name, bro. My name is Tim. I said, well, guess what? I said, in the scriptures, Isaiah 52, 5-6, the Most High said, now therefore, what have I here, saith Yah, that my people is taken away for naught. They that rule over them make them to howl, says Yah. And my name continually, every day, is blasphemy. So he goes on to say, therefore, my people shall know my name. Therefore, they shall know that day that I am, that does speak, behold, it is I. And we're in the end times, knowledge is increasing rapidly because we are in an end time. And he already said that we shall know his name and we shall know that he is our Elohim and that we are his people. Then again, I tried to explain to them because of a recently debate about Christian elders saying that the problem with Israelites is that we feel that the Bible revolves around us, and it does.
And it does, yeah.
So I explained it to them. And I'm letting them know that if you don't know by now all the stuff that we've been saying on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, that the Bible does not involve us as being Israelites, I said, then you have no knowledge of self at all.
But and at the end of the day, it just goes back to what we was just actually talking about here in terms of this idea of who has believed our report.
Bam.
The report actually is our report, but we didn't believe the report, so somebody else believed it. But the problem with
say that again. That makes a lot of sense.
well, I mean, that's what it is. The truth. Somebody else believed our report. But the only problem was that the people who believe it don't understand the foundations of it. Right. Exactly. So it becomes a problem and it becomes confusion because you have these people who, like, if I just stumble upon something that's meant for you and I find it and it be like something that I could take advantage of, I could win if I do the thing, but I don't really, there's intricacies in it that I don't understand because it was talking to you. Right. It was your mail that I found, and I just did. I just did the best I could. I'm still winning though, but there's things that I'm missing. When we think about it in the context of the scriptures, there it's true that if you believe in the light, you'll become a son of the light. That's a truth.
That is true.
But if I don't really understand what that means and what I'm doing, I'm not really believing like he's saying that I should be believing.
Right.
Because like we talked about, it's action. So I could say that I believe in Jesus and I'm saved, right? But if I don't really know what that means,
was that more so almost like the story of I think, if I'm not mistaken, was it Job? Like he didn't, how am I trying to say this? He didn't, his faith wasn't strong, but he was doing certain things. He knew what he was supposed to do, but his faith wasn't strong enough. Right. So is that almost on a similar, like what we're getting at right here?
I think in terms of comparing, like in terms of what I'm talking about, in terms of people believing a report that's not theirs, and we think about mainstream Christianity, it's Yeshua. What he has done he has made himself available to whosoever will.
Right.
That's true. He's made himself available to whoever believes in him.
And it's obviously.
But hold on 1 second. But the problem is that when he's calling for you to do a thing, but you don't understand what he's calling for you to do, you think that it's all in my mind. But he's calling for your whole situation, which is manifestation actions. Right. So belief actually looks like something. And if we think about this from the right perspective, we understand that. But until we look at it the way that we're supposed to be looking at it, we don't understand it. So when we look at this, what we're looking at, when he's talking about, we're going to get more into it because he says more things, right? That builds upon what we was already dealing with. So let's read. What is it?
I was going to compliment on that because when you said it was presented to them to provoke us to jealousy in the first place, according to Romans.
Well, even that though, when you think even that, there's a problem even with that, because if you know the scriptures, if you know the word, you know what it says. When you look at mainstream Christianity, does that provoke you to jealousy?
It don't really provoke me to jealousy at all.
So the idea here is that verse is true, but how we think of it is not necessarily true. Mainstream Christianity can't provoke somebody who's walking in the truth to jealousy because they're not doing the thing.
That's what I was going to say about the belief, because there's a lot of people who that really believe. I'm not believe in God or believe in Jesus, but they don't understand. Like there's real extensity to the commandments, and like just like. And I always tell him that's like going to Sunday churches. I used to like their praise, but I would notice how they don't touch base on the Sabbath. They don't touch base on eating pork. They think that was old when it clearly say don't eat that. Even the fish in the sea. Like I just stopped eating pork and seafood since this walk, and I knew better though. But like it say you have to eat fish with scales. Like this is, but when they don't know that, and then even down to a lot of the stuff from the Bible being watered down, a lot of missing information. Like I just found out Jesus was hung from a tree, and whole time they're taught that he's nailed to a cross, and that little piece of information would have strict. If I would have knew that as a kid, I would have already compared that to like, oh, why was he like little stuff, like little small stuff like that. And when you don't know, like when you don't really like know the truth, it is kind of, even though they're believing it, they're still believing in like sort of like false and like lies. So how could they really be walking the light when it's not really the full light?
It's a different thing now if you walking in the truth. Like say you walk in the truth, you understand who you are, and then now you see some people that's Gentiles, some non-Israelite people walking in the life, the way that they should be walking, in terms of keeping the commandments, and you know, walking out righteousness, but they're not physical Israel. Now that could provoke you to jealousy.
That's what I'm talking about.
But somebody who's not doing the things, that don't count. I don't. So what?
So what?
So what they're doing?
I'm not jealous. Yeah, I understand. But where I was getting at, as doing the aspect like it's being presented to the Gentiles, and I apply it to those days in biblical times and today. For instance, you want to give Hiskey something that belongs to him, but he rejects it. So in turn, you give it to Africa, and he gets jealous because he's like, "Hold up, that was mine from the get-go. I want it now." All because you offered it to Africa. It provoked him the jealousy to even want it more. So I understand that aspect of it, but I also understand that if it doesn't apply, let it fly. I'm not jealous of nothing. For what? But I do understand that. But I also, in my recent conversation with a Gentile Christian, I was explaining, and another brother too, I was explaining to him about the grafting in and Romans and stuff, and there's no need for you to boast about it because of our rejection, it was presented to you. So don't forget that we are a chosen people now. Then I told the brother, I said, and you have the audacity to call yourself a Gentile when you fit the description of his chosen people. I said, man, why don't you get on this ship and come back home, man? You know, I said, because this Bible talks about you, us. It was written for us, by us, the original FUBU.
What? You got something, Amir?
Oh, I wanted to piggyback off of that. I had a story once. When I was a kid, my father gave me this coat, and it was I don't remember if it was leather or if it was suede, but I thought it was the ugliest thing I ever seen in my life. And he paid a lot of money for this coat. He was excited to give it to me. He brought it out. You know, we live in the hood, so he brought it out in front of all the little kids and presented it to me. And I was like, ew, that coat I don't want that. And he gave it to my cousin. In turn, he turned around and he gave it to my cousin Jamar. And seeing him give it to my cousin Jamar, I start crying. Boo-hoo crying. That's my coat. I want my coat. That's my coat, Daddy. And I'm like 19 years old. Like, I'm not a little baby or anything. I'm crying, like boo-hoo crying because he's giving my coat to my cousin now in front of everybody. And now I'm like, I want my coat. It's the principal. It's mine. I don't want him to have it. That's my coat. And it's the same thing. Like, even waking up to this truth and like seeing other people do it better than we do it. It enrages me. Like, that's ours. Like, how do they know how to keep our stuff better than we know how to keep it? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, you see all these other nations keeping the commandments and following after the Father. Like, sometimes we go to synagogue, and there's Mexicans and, you know, Caucasian people. They all meet and gather together, and they have like their little cultures and stuff, and they have their little dances and things that they're doing. We're like, sometimes I find myself like, how can they do it better than we do it? Like they got it together better than we do, and it provokes you to jealousy. It does.
Yeah. Well, I think, but what has to happen though? What has to happen is, you know, you have this thing where you're not putting any value on it until somebody else got it. Mm-hmm. And then you put value on it, and then you want it, right? But you can't get mad at the person who put value on it before you did, right? Because it's really your own fault. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Whatever needs to happen in order for you to put value on this valuable thing, you know, let that thing happen. You know what I mean? Because you have to get to a place where you want the thing that's yours.
Now, would you say technically that it's our fault that we really don't know? Like, a lot of people really don't know at this point, because they did basically just erase our whole history and gave us, do this Bible out and said, here, this is what it is, or gave us all these different religions. It's really technically not our fault. It's not like we just watched them and we just sat there and was like, oh yeah, y'all could be them. And you know what I mean? They gave us all this other stuff. They told us this is what our history was in school, or this is. So it's not really. I don't think it's really
funny. It's funny
well,
you brought that up.
Hold on a sec, because I just want. The thing is that I think that to talk about fault necessarily is not it don't really get you nowhere, because look, we could just stop right here at verse 40. He has blinded their eyes and hardened their hearts so that they should not see their eyes and understand with their heart. In turn, I should heal them. Now, when I look at this, and this is my thoughts on the matter, when it talks about the Most High blinding their eyes, and it talks about the Most High hardening Pharaoh's heart. The Most High gonna give you. He gonna give you what you want. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you want it, he gonna give it to you.
Yeah, seeking your find.
Right?
But he gives you that.
So if you want to be rebellious, he gonna give you that. Right? So when we look at where we are, it's the result of something. It's the result of our ancestors and their disobedience. If they never would have been disobedient in the first place, the Most High would never have turned his face from them. Right? He said that he was going to turn his face. He told Moses, the Torah portion that this week, Moses is giving the mantle over to Joshua, and he's basically saying, here go the keys. Oh, and by the way, when you get over there, the people going to turn away from the Almighty, and then the Almighty going to turn away from the people. Right. Here you go. Here go the keys. You handle that. Yeah. There you go. But so at the end of the day, we are where we are because of what they did. Right. But it don't really change nothing, because the light has been made available to you.
Right. And it's always been available. When they say things like, and they have said things like, hadn't anything from a black person put it in a book. The opportunity has always been, or even to our grandparents, it's always been there. But they use the same thing with myself. Certain things has always been there, but it's not being utilized now. Really, we can't really like blame the fault on, because it's always been something. God is he's a fair God. It's always been something for you to be able to find out. Seeking you will find.
That's always been true.
So that opportunity is always there, even though he turned. It's still some form of way that you could have No.
Who he's turned
Who you want?
who he's turned from is the nation as a whole.
Oh, right,
Israel.
right, not singular.
Yeah, it's not individuals. If it was individuals, we would be said in the first place, right?
Yeah.
He's turned his face as a whole from the nation. He destroyed the nation, dispersed us all over the place. As a whole, individuals, we've been turning back.
Right.
There's been a flicker of light throughout the generations, all the way back. But in terms of the nation,
it's as a whole, it's not.
But
yeah,
you know what? He shows you his feelings. Let me show you something. Say something through the instance of life. Say you in a serious relationship and you really love someone, right? And they turn around and dog you out and leave you, abandon you, and embrace someone else, which make you jealous in sort of a sense. When that happened to me, you know, in my meditation time, the Ruach showed me that's exactly what my people did to the Most High in the same fashion. So now you know his hurt. Now you know his jealousy. It's the same metaphor. But however, he knew these things was going to happen to us because he already said he was going to scatter us to the four corners of the earth. We're going to be made to worship other gods of wood and stone. But however, man is still without excuse, according to Romans 1:20, that is. But then again, you got to look at the rich man and Lazarus, for instance. When the rich man was in hell, he asked him in the bosom of Abraham, can you send Lazarus to my brothers and let them know that there's such a place like this? Then he told him, what makes you think they're going to believe a man coming back from the dead? And they have prophets to tell them. They have people to tell them, and they don't listen. So therefore, man is without excuse, and you're right. To have something from a Hebrew, put it in the book. Because most of us was taught to look at the picture.
Right.
Even when in pagan holidays, when you're trying to put a big wheel or a bike together, you don't read the instructions.
Right.
We look at the picture.
Right.
We look at the picture and just say, oh, we're going to do it this way.
Right.
And then we almost got it done, and it's this one little tiny piece
Right.
that caused the whole thing not to work.
Right.
That's the
Right.
same thing you got to apply to scripture. We got to read the instructions. We can't just assume it.
That's the blueprint to life.
That's what Christians do. They just assume. They look at the picture of the Bible, just the text of it, without reading the text. They listen to what they want to hear instead of reading for themselves. When also, obviously, Timmy say to study to show yourself approved, study to show yourself approved. It never said you got to go to this Israelite camp in order to get teachings and lessons.
Right.
It never said you got to go to this church. It says study for yourself.
well, it do say that, but one thing we don't want people to do, what people sit up here and try to do is try to be individual pockets and just sit up here and all I need is myself. I can just learn everything by myself.
No, it's good to fellas. I say it's good to fellas.
Well, I'm saying that
Arab
it's
shoppers are.
I'm saying it's more than just good. It's more than just a good thing that you should do. This is it was created to be this way for people to actually grow together, for people to show other people and be together. Not you don't have to sit up there and try to figure things out yourself. It wasn't built that way.
Right.
It wasn't set up that
Because
way.
if you only doing it yourself, like we all got individual minds and stuff like that. Like you may be able to pull something from the context better, like that I might have wouldn't have seen on my own. Like 2 minds is better than 1 or 3 minds, or if he might be able to pull something, or you might be, or I might be able to say something. It should be like a learning experience together to get more out of it.
It got to be that. You are supposed to search the scriptures,
But however, the reason why I made that comment because I saw that comment where it says, if you ain't entering the Passover with ISUPK, then you're sinning.
Those people, I mean,
and I had to laugh at that. That's why I made that comment. You know, that was the only sole purpose of making it, just to let people know that you don't have to go to no camp in order to be saved or learn this. There's many ways of learning. They're not the only ones waking people up.
But what we do have to do is make sure that we get people out of this idea that, you know, all I got to, or that they even should be doing it by themselves. You should be trying to actually seeking to be with people.
Yeah, you seek to be with fellowship because iron sharpens iron.
Let's keep on going here. John chapter 12, verse 44 down through 48. 48. John 12, 44 down to 48.
All right, work with me. Then Yahushua cried out and said, he who believes in me believes not in me, but in him who sent me. Can I read that again?
Please.
Okay, my pleasure. Then Yahushua cried out and said, he who believes in me believes not in me, but in him who sent me. And he who sees me sees him who sent me. I have come as a light into the world, so that no one who believes in me should stay in darkness. And if anyone hears my words, but does not watch over them, I do not judge him, for I did not come to judge the world, but to save the world. He who rejects me and does not receive my words has one who judges him. The word that I have spoken shall judge him in the last day. The word that I have spoken shall judge him in the last day. Yeshua is the word of Yah.
Okay, so look at
You just want.
when we look at this here, we see a couple things going on here. First of all, we see Yeshua makes this statement there. He who believes in me believes not in me. It seems kind of like, what in the world is he talking about? He who believes in me believes not in me, but in him who sent me. So if we know anything about Yeshua and understanding who he is, the things that he said, he was sent by the Father. He was sent by the Father. So whoever believes in him is actually not believing in him, but believing in the Father, which is the one who sent him. I mean, even that verse right there is an interesting verse to even think about, because again, like I said in the beginning, we see this place where the Most High really, Yeshua is giving us kind of this thing that kind of this is like some spiritual understanding right here that he's going into right here. That's kind of not really dealing with this whole physical kind of father son kind of thing here. We think about Yeshua as the Son, the Most High, the Almighty, the Father. That's how Yeshua, when he's on earth, kind of refers back to the Almighty. But here, there's kind of like this, and he takes it further. You believe in me, you actually believe in the one that sent me. You see me. He who sees me sees him who sent me. Like, he's saying some pretty powerful things right there when we look at this, these two verses that Yeshua is stating right here. And again, when we think about, where we started off at in terms of thinking about Yeshua being the light, Yeshua being life, Yeshua being the word being the light, Yeshua being the word was with Elohim, and the word was Elohim. We keep on seeing how Yeshua is showing us this oneness between him and the Father, which I think is pretty interesting. Does anybody have any thoughts on this whole idea of believing in Yeshua, but not believing in him, but believing in the one that sent him?
Like he's not taking credit. To me, I feel like he's basically saying, like, if you believe if you believe in me, you really don't believe in me. You believe in the Most High. Like he's not taking the credit for being this light, because he's coming from. I mean, he's a son of the Most High. Is that right?
Well, it's not about right. I was just trying to see what people had thoughts about it. I mean, I think in general, he is taking the focus away from himself and pointing it towards the Almighty. Yes, I would say that. In general,
That's the way I took it.
In
like,
general, that's what he's
like
doing.
he's not taking the credit for even. And for those in those times, they're looking at. I'm not in those times, but in those times, they're seeing the things that he's doing. I guess the miracles he's showing them.
Quite miraculous,
right? And so those who are listening, like, you believe in me, you don't believe. So that's the way I'm like interpreting. Like, you're not believing in him, you're believing in the Most High and the power of him.
And sing too, though. Sing.
And seeing him, yes.
Okay. So in 46 now, it talks about this whole idea of verse 6, I've come as light in the world so that no one who believes in me should stay in darkness. And again, if we think about light, I think if we think about light as let's look at let's look at Proverbs 6.
I can't wait to read it now knowing and actually with my eyes really being open, because even reading the Bible from the front, it'd be like, dang, I'm looking at it in a total different aspect than I did before.
Right. That's what motivated me to write my book.
Okay.
Wisdom and Truth.
What you say, Proverbs?
6:23.
Right?
Yeah, 6:23.
For the command is a lamp, and the Torah, the law, a light, and reproof of discipline, a way of life.
Okay, so it says that the law, the Torah, the instructions of the Almighty is a light. And we know that Yeshua's the light. We know that the Torah is the word. We know that Yeshua is the word.
Right.
When we think about who Yeshua is the word manifests, right? He's the word of the Almighty. The word, the Most High opened up his mouth and the word came out. The Most High opened up his mouth and Yeshua is what came out. The light comes out, right? He is the manifestation of the invisible Elohim, right? Yeshua is the manifestation of the invisible Elohim. When we think about the Torah, when we think about the instructions, again, I say this all the time, that the Torah is the character of the Almighty humanized. In the heavenlies, there's no such thing as murder or stealing or covetousness or any of these things in the heavenlies. These are ways in which when we walk these things out, we manifest the character of the Almighty.
Right.
And in this earthly plane. Right? So when we see this idea of the Torah being a light, it is a way that we manifest the character of the Almighty, right? The way that we manifest the character of the Almighty is walking out the Torah, dealing with man in a way that the Most High would have for us to deal with other men and women, right? Humans.
Right.
So let's go back over here. Let's go back over to, where's my cursor at? I was losing my cursor.
You know, Revelation
A lie.
19:13 compliments what you're saying.
The whole
Right?
day.
It does indeed.
Oh,
I'll wait till you get done with that one.
this is verse what? 46. You ain't beat the neighbor up, did you?
Get arrested.
All right, so okay, so verse 46. I have come as the light of the world. We think about the light of the world again, it's not this abstract thing. The light of the world is the character of the Almighty in the world, which, by the way, is cloaked in darkness, right? Separated from the light, separated from the character of the Almighty, separated from the Almighty altogether, right? But he don't want for us to stay in darkness, right? So he gave us himself in the flesh to come as a light into the world so that no one who believes in me, the light, Torah manifests, the word, should stay in darkness. But then he says these other things here in 46, 47. If anyone hears my word, see, we don't have to think about, we don't have to add this idea of words being something that's over in those other verses and that we try to implant over here. They're over here already, right? If anyone hears my words, he was already talking about light before, right? I have come as light into the world. Now, if anybody hears my words, I'm saying that my words is the light that come into the world. If anyone hears my words, but does not watch over them. Now, when we think about this idea of watching over, if we're thinking about it from a Greek perspective, I think we're missing out. But if we think about it from the idea of shamar in the Hebrew, which is to guard over something, to keep it, right? To make sure that it is where it's supposed to be at, to watch over the thing, right? I do not judge him. If anyone hears my words, if anyone hears my instructions, if anybody hears my law, but does not watch over them, I do not judge them. Yeshua saying, I do not judge them, for I did not come to judge the world, but to save the world. What's he talking about right there?
He's talking about he came to save us, to reconcile us, to prevent provisions, to reconcile us back to Yah, our creator, being that we're sinful people and we needed a redeemer. So therefore he came not to judge this moment, this first coming. He did not come to judge. He came to
then back then you said.
Back then. He came to save, because if you know that 1 John 3:8, where it says, for this purpose the Son of Yah was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil, who was a sinner from the beginning. So it goes to show you that it all started in the garden. Genesis 3:15. That he will be this light to come to the world to reconcile us back to the Father.
So in terms of this saving of the world, in terms of Yeshua talking to these people at this time in that place, he came to save them. His mission at that time was to save the world and not to judge, not to decide the end result or outcome of the people at that time.
Right.
That's
like when
more
you go to court
but
and
that's
they have a
more so
preliminary
like
hearing.
That's more like
They're not judging you at the preliminary.
right.
hearing.
That's more so not giving. It's not giving them an ultimatum, like a judgment, like scaring them. It's just more so like,
Well, it's not. You're not get when it's talking about judge right here. Let's look this word up.
Yeah, judge in Hebrew.
Well, it's Greek.
The Greek. I mean,
That's 47. Judge.
yeah, there's two judges. Yeah,
To distinguish, that is decide,
mentally.
to try, condemn, punish, avenge, conclude, damn, decree, determine, judge, sentence.
right.
So we talking about like the end result.
Yeah, the disposition
Right.
of things.
The for instance, we live in this place and wickedness abounds, right? There's wicked people all over the place. Is good people that are actually living for the Almighty,
Right.
who ended up being killed as a result of wickedness
Yeah.
running rampant all over the place.
Right.
When Yeshua here is talking about judgment, he's talking about the final judgment.
Yeah.
He's talking about the final determination for wickedness. When we think about, what, and again, when we think about the idea of the fact that the report, who has believed our report, we think about what Yeshua does in the end, how he fulfills the Day of Atonement, how he totally eradicates all sin. We look in Revelation, we talk about death and sin and the beast and everybody being tossed in the pit, never to return, right?
Right.
That's judgment, right? He says even here, and if any man hear my word, that was 47.
Mhm.
And he that reject me and receive not my words hath one that judges them.
Right.
Okay.
The word that I have spoken, the same shall judge him in the last days.
Oh yeah. So he just saying I'm not the one
Right now.
right now.
Not right now.
Right now, but
But everyone that's going to judge him
he is the one though.
Yeah, he's the word.
Just not right now.
Okay.
Not right now. That's like when you go
And
to
just
a
not
store.
even right now though. Even right now, even up to right now.
Right.
We still dealing in this part. Yeah, it's still time to get get salvation while you
Can.
can,
Right.
while it could be found.
Right.
Well, it could be
It could be
found right now, right?
Right.
Right now it could be found. Right now, you're not going to necessarily receive your final determination for your dealings in this place. But there will be a time in those last days
And you know
when you
what?
will.
What I was telling you that complements that was Revelations 19:13 that actually says, and he was clothed with vesture dipped in blood, and his name is, not was or shall be called, but is called the Word of Yah. So everything he's saying comes right in order. It's all the I's is dot and the T's are being crossed. So it tells you right there.
And again, just like saying that, it's just the same thing as thinking about the light. It's not abstract. It's not this thing that's just like, it doesn't have any connection to anything. When we think about the word of the Almighty, it's his law, it's his Torah, it's his instructions, it's his commandments, it's his statutes, it's his judgments. All of those things was always his word. And then now in what we see with Yeshua, his word became manifest. He walked in perfection as as it relates to the law, the so-called law of Moses. He was without sin.
Right.
in that regard, he fulfills the law.
Right.
Because again, the law was given to create structure and barriers to keep you in a certain path. Yeshua walked that path, and he gave us the example to also walk in that path. But I also want to look at because he's saying this thing about if anyone hears my words but does not watch over them, he's talking about the fact that he won't judge those ones, he won't condemn those ones or sentence those ones right then and there, but it don't mean that they're in the right. Right? He wants for you actually to hear his words and actually watch over them. And again, this is something that we as far as in Yeshua need to understand, that when we hear his words, we actually need to watch over them. And just because he's not sentencing us as a result of not watching over those things doesn't mean that there ain't something that's coming.
Right. It clearly says that in this layman sign, days gonna come where you are gonna be judged.
Right. But you saying that, but that's people missing that.
Right. Missing that.
Oh, yeah.
It's all kind of people missing that.
Definitely.
Feeling like that stuff is done.
Yeah, they'll take that.
I don't gotta do those things anymore.
He says it right there. You got people.
Right. It goes straight.
But that's not what he's saying, though. He's not saying that.
You said they'll take that scripture and run with it and say, "Well, he's not judging us. God's going to judge us. Jesus not going to judge us. He said he didn't come to judge us."
Yeah. Look at. I want to look at this. I want to look at John chapter. I keep losing my cursor. John chapter 3. I guess we can start off. Let's start off with the with 16, but read down to 21 though.
For Elohim so loved the world that he gave his only begotten fourth son. So let me rephrase that. Elohim so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, so that everyone who believes in him should not perish but possess everlasting life. For Elohim did not send his son into the world to judge the world, but that the world through him might be saved, reconciled. He who believes in him is not judged, but he who does not believe is judged already, because he has not believed in the name of the only brought forth son, Elohim. And this is the judgment, that the light has come into the world, and men love the darkness rather than the light, for their works are wicked. For everyone who is practicing evil matters hates the light and does not come to the light, lest his works should be exposed. But the one doing the truth comes to the light, so that his works are clearly seen, that they have been wrought in Elohim.
This is,
you shall know them by their fruit.
This is baffling to me. It's completely and utterly. I don't get it. When I look at this, right, it's so clear. Verse 20, for everyone who is practicing evil matters hates the light and does not come to the light, lest his works should be exposed. He's comparing and contrasting our actions. He's comparing and contrasting our works, whether they're works that are the result of light or works that are a result of darkness. If I say that I'm a follower of Yeshua, I at the same time should be saying that my works are not wicked.
I look at the Torah on that aspect, because when it goes on to say the Torah was a tutor, they're letting us know that we was actually sinning.
Well, now wait a second. Now you said it was.
We were sinning.
I know, but Listen to what you said though. You said the tutor, it was a tutor to us.
Okay.
Who has believed our report?
Who has believed? Right? That's what I mean. Who has believed?
It's not a tutor to somebody
That's
whose
what I'm
report
saying.
it
Who
ain't.
believed our report. That's the key thing right there. So I will rephrase it.
No, you don't have to rephrase it. You said
some people that might take that and run with it.
no, but what I'm saying is that I'm laughing because you said that,
right.
But it just goes back to where we started at in terms of the fact of who has believed our report. Gentiles have believed our report. So to them, though, it's not a tutor to them because they don't even know what it is.
They don't know what it is, but we would, because the law was presented to us that we might know that we was committing such sin. So for everyone who is practicing evil matters, hates the light and does not come to the light, at least his work should be exposed, meaning they don't know that they're doing wrong unless someone tells them they're doing wrong, unless they're exposed to them doing wrong. And then there's some who actually know that they're doing wrong and won't stand corrected until it's put out on the carpet and they be exposed.
I want to take it as far as exposure, not even someone telling you. If you're letting God, how do we say? Because I say God because I'm used to saying that. Yeah, but if you're letting Him manifest through you, and now you're starting to walk to the light, whatever evil doings you're doing, I take it as exposing. He's going to expose like your evil doings. The closer you get to Him, you're going to start getting exposed to your ways that are wrong or that are not of His will. Not someone telling you, "Hey, Monet, that's wrong," because somebody could tell you anything. But when He's manifesting through you, He's going to tell you. And now, so if you are embracing that or you want to continue to walk on, you will. But if you don't, you're not going to keep going that way. You're scared of the light. You hate the light because you don't want to let go of this because it's exposed to you now. So I'm not coming to this. I don't like that. So I'm gonna just stay right here because I don't want to let this go.
Even roaches scatter when the lights come on.
Right. So and that's the way I'm interpreting.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because the light, he's giving us these principles, but it's it's principles that's showing us a thing, but it's universal truths. When you turn the lights on, all of the stuff that's been concealed are being shown. So as you say, the closer you get to the Almighty, the closer you get to Yeshua, the closer you get to the light, the more that the darkness is exposed.
Right.
So when we look at this again, verse 18 says, "He who believes in Him is not judged, but he who does not believe is judged already." You already judged. You already you are where you are, basically. You may not. So here is talking about this idea of this judgment. It's probably the same word. I don't see why it wouldn't be the same word.
But there's a word judge in Hebrews too.
What was that? 18. Oh yeah, 29. That's it right there, right?
Condemn.
Yeah, that's the same word.
That's the same word.
Krino. That's the same word that's judged in the other verse. But again, it's not as if it's saying something different than the other verse, because if you are where you are in unbelief and you remain in unbelief without that ever being rectified, even though you not feeling that, you may not feel the judgment right now, that don't mean that it ain't coming. It's still coming whenever He takes care of what He's going to take care of, but it still puts you in one of two categories in terms of those that believe who are not condemned and those who don't believe, those that are condemned.
Yeah.
And get off of this. But the thing that I wanted to concentrate on was the fact that these things are connected to works. It's connected to action. It's connected to things that you actually do, right? It's not, again, it's not this abstract thing. Belief is not about something that's going on in your mind. Because even, because it's not like that for the wicked side. Everyone who is practicing evil matters hates the light and does not come to the light lest those works shall be exposed. On the evil side, I'm willing to go ahead and say that that's talking about you doing things. But on the other side, I just want to keep it in this kind of non-specific, I don't even know how to describe it.
Blah, blah, blah.
What is it? What is that? If I'm a believer in Yeshua, it don't look like anything. But if I'm a non-believer, I know what that looks like.
Right.
I know what wickedness look like. But righteousness, I walk like Jesus walked.
What they say is that there is no righteousness in you. Right. Your righteousness is his imputed righteousness.
Yeah.
And that's why you can't do anything. He did it all. There's nothing else for you to do. And if you do it something else, then you are trampling on that free gift.
Yeah.
What?
Right.
That's basically what they're saying. Yeah.
That's like some wizardry.
If you try to do something,
that's a sparkly shirt.
That's when they told
But that's what causes so much confusion, and it's sad to watch it around because all of that contradiction and it just confuses and it keeps everybody distracted and asleep. It does.
It is confusion, and he's not the author of confusion.
You know what most of the confusion is when they be teaching, the Christians be teaching, once you're saved, you're always saved. Well, not according to Hebrews 10. No, it's not. Shoot.
I think the problem is like we got the same book.
Yeah.
We looking at the same book. This is King James right here. King James. It's the same book. Got Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, all that good stuff in it. But when I look at it, I'm looking at it through the lens of the so-called Old Testament. So even this, what we looking at, if it's sitting up here talking about light, and I already know that the Torah is a light, is a lamp to my feet.
Right.
He's talking about the light. It's talking about Yeshua. Yeshua is the word.
And the word is the Torah.
When I'm putting all these things together, it makes all kinds of sense.
People really don't understand what it says that he's the word.
Right.
The only word from the Most High is the law. That's his words. He told Moses what to write, right?
Right.
And then the word that he gave to the prophets. When they said, thus saith Yahweh. All the other things are stories about them, about men and kings falling short and all of that. But his word is what he gave to Moses and what he gave to the prophets.
His word. Yeah. You ever heard? Remember I said before, if you want something done right, do it yourself. As I explained to the Christian brothers and sisters that I was speaking with, I said, surely he came and did what nobody else couldn't do. I said he entered the world of his own creation, clothed with his own creation. He walked amongst his own creation, taught his own creation how to view him as Elohim and Father. Then he sacrificed himself for his own creation to reconcile his own creation back to himself. I said, you tell me that he's not powerful to do that? Sure he is. So they asked me, are you saved? Are you saved? They kept telling me, are you saved? So I said, indeed I am. Sometimes, definitely not. They
Yeah.
said, well, what kind of answer is that? I said, bear with me. I'll say it again. I said, if you mean by am I saved from the guilt of sin, then I have to say, indeed I am. But Yeshua was stretched wide and hung on a tree, and for my sins he died. But if you mean am I saved from the power of sin, then I can only say sometime, because none of us is perfect. We all fall short of the glory, which is the reason why there's a means to repent and die daily. I said, now, if you mean am I saved from the presence of sin, I said, turn on your television. See the current events. See what's going on today. Sin is running rampant. I said, so to answer your questions, indeed I am, sometimes definitely not. So they had to understand it.
And that's what they don't understand. They don't understand salvation is something that's a total process.
It's a process.
It's not just this hypothetical, oh, yes, I'm sitting in heavenly places now. Oh, yeah. I thought you were sitting right beside me. You know, my thing is, they don't understand the whole picture. Like, these people were looking for salvation from the Romans.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They were looking for, you know, that's why a lot of, you know, the so-called people rejected him, because they were looking for some man to come out the sky and start chopping heads off.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, that was the Messiah they were looking for, but they didn't understand the process.
Some people, it has been said that Judas, the one that
Backstabber.
the one who betrayed. I'm saying it just because the scripture always says it. The one that betrayed Messiah was a part of this kind of radical sect that was a part of this radical sect, and they kind of say that the reason, this is what people say, I'm not saying that I say this, but just to go along with what you say in terms of people, what they was looking for, the reason why he was able to betray Yeshua as he did, because he felt as if when he did that, it was going to bring about that physical redemption that they was actually looking for. You know, because Yeshua told them, he heard them say that now is the time of salvation. I didn't come to do all of these things that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Even in even in Acts, after he was already dead, the thought process was that, you know, the things that
I got a good one for you. When the boy asks,
it's in I think it's
what is it that you looking for, brother?
I'm looking for in Acts, because it speaks to the thought process of the people at the time in terms of what they were expecting. Let me see here. Until that day, show so alive and passion many.
Was that's not in Acts 28, is it?
No, it's earlier. It's like
Earlier?
It's
That's like
Let me read this for you.
I found it. Verse 6. When they therefore were come together, they asked of him, saying, Master, wilt thou at this time restore again the kingdom of Israel? And he said unto them, It is not for you to know the times or the seasons which the Father hath but put in his own power. So they're at the place where they was at, waiting for the coming of the Spirit, and they're thinking now's the time that Israel is going to be restored. This is what is this what's getting ready to happen?
Is this getting ready to happen, man?
I got something to go right with that, right? So in Luke 4, chapter 4, verse 17, right?
Mm-hmm.
and there was delivered unto him the book of the prophet Isaiah. And when he opened the book, he found the place where it was written, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and the recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised, to preach the acceptable year of the Lord. And he closed the book. Where's he quoting from? He's quoting from Isaiah 61. And Isaiah says the same thing. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the good tidings unto the meek. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and opening of prisons to them that are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all that mourn. And then he goes on to talk about what he's going to do to Zion and restore. So why did he shut the book right before he talked about vengeance?
Yeah, he didn't get to that part
now
yet.
wasn't the time for vengeance. He was coming to set free, but he is coming for vengeance later.
Yeah,
he shut the book right before he started talking about
a little bit later,
because it wasn't that time.
Yeah, but the thought process is
right.
The whole timeline, but they don't. They thought, oh, you hear now?
Right. It's time for vengeance.
Even like
it's time for vengeance.
when you look at like Thessalonians, Paul's telling the people, look, you guys go ahead, go to work, live your life. You know what I mean? You sitting up here thinking that Yeshua's coming back tomorrow. And he might, but you got to keep on going with life. Don't just stop life, because, and this is, whenever that was, 2000, whatever years ago it was, whenever Paul sent letters to the people in Thessalonica. So, yeah. Okay, we said all that just to say that judgment is coming, but not yet. But there are classifications. Oh, okay. There are classifications, and those classifications are based on our actions, whether we are servants to righteousness or servants to wickedness. And it doesn't make sense for us to be able to clearly be able to define what acts of wickedness are, but acts of righteousness is some unattainable thing that doesn't look like anything.
You say you can't. You unable to define wickedness, like.
No, he's speaking kind of like comedic.
Yeah,
so
it's hyperbole.
The scripture is defining what wickedness is, but in the mindset of your Christian, they can't define what righteousness is.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? It's this big, mystery, like, oh, well, we can't do it. He did it all.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And you know what I noticed a lot of people, including even myself, I used to think, like, they just feel like as long as their heart is good, or
I'm a good person.
Yeah, I'm a good person.
Your righteousness is
God knows my heart, but it's so much more to it than that. You know what I mean? I'm realizing
the
that
problem is that he does know your heart. That's the problem.
Right.
Wicked and deceitful.
That's what the
Bible,
for real. The Bible says that.
Goodness, righteousness
right.
as a filthy rag.
And no, for real, that's so true, because there's things that, like, I told him this. I said I can't walk halfway. Like, I've been good to the people I love. Like, if I love you, I'm being honest, but I have been deceitful, and I'm just now realizing that. Like, I'm realizing, like, wow. And this whole time I used to be like, God, come on, I be loyal to this person, that person. And why is this happening? But you haven't been all the way 24, like the 360 around the board. Have you been honest?
But see, according to Yeshua, that's wicked what you talking about. Because even the tax collectors, who was the wicked people of the day, they're able to be good to their own people.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. No.
You ever lied to somebody?
No.
Because you didn't want to hurt their feelings?
Yeah.
wickedness.
Yeah. No, and that's what I'm saying. Like, so
Because you don't want to hurt their
Yeah.
feelings, but you lie to them.
Yeah.
I was wicked.
yeah, make up a lie. I want to call you back, but I really just don't want to talk to you. That's,
Or they
but I'm
behave
like, these are things
street.
that's been convicted me like the
Yeah.
last few days, and I'm like, it's just like, wow, like I have so much work to do, but
Yeah.
I see it just not from nobody telling me. It's just like exposing. Like
Yeah.
every day he be exposing something else to me. I'd be like, okay.
We just have to keep in mind that righteousness is not abstract; it's concrete. He shows you what righteousness is, and then he put his ruach, his spirit inside of you to point you in that direction.
Right.
He put the spirit inside of you to strengthen you to be able to walk out the words that he put on the page. It is your choice, but he strengthens you to be able to make the right choice.
Yeah.
And that's what the light is. The light is that. The light is that strength to do what's right. The light is the desire to do what's right. That's what the light is.
Yeah, desire is the key word. Like, 'cause you gotta. The first step to act, the doing it is the want, like desire it.
Right.
To do right. Not
Yeah,
just-
because your carnal mind
Yeah.
don't want to do it.
Right.
Your carnal mind just wants to just appease its own self.
Its own self.
It's selfish.
Yep.
Very.
Your carnal mind is selfish. Period.
Yep.
I use my little wicked children as a example all the time. You don't gotta teach them how to be wicked. They already know how to do it. They know how to sneak. They know how to take whatever they want. They just obviously don't matter if it ain't yours. As soon as you touch it, it becomes yours just because you want it. Nobody gotta teach you that. Nobody gotta teach you how to be wicked. Because it's just your carnal mind. It's just your flesh calling out, I want this. That tastes good. That smells good. That feels good. I'm just going to take it and indulge in all of these things. That's what your carnal mind wants you to do. But we have to, through the scriptures, what the Torah does for us is put all of those things in their places. Yes, that might taste good, but it might not be good for me to taste it right now.
So what you're saying is that Christians who say they can't do it, actually saying that, oh, they can't fight the carnal mind.
Mm-hmm.
So when they say, oh, you can't do it,
it doesn't make any sense. Well, what they're saying is saying that the spirit that's in them can do it. They speaking against the power of the Almighty. Again, I say this all the time. If we have a understanding of what the new covenant is, it fixes all of this. If we understand that the whole reason why Yeshua came is so that he could regather Israel and that he could put the law in Israel's hearts. When that spirit is poured out, we can look back and see what was the purpose of the spirit to be poured out, to put the law in your hearts. So if I say that I got the spirit, but I don't got to worry about the law, I don't know what spirit that is. Because the spirit wasn't poured out so that you could, it wasn't poured out so that you could speak in tongues. It wasn't poured out so that you could do the Holy Ghost dance and shout and fall out. It wasn't.
So the preacher can hit you with the wind of the coat.
Yeah, and then you can fall down. It wasn't poured out so that you could do those things. It was poured out so that the law of the Most High could be written on your hearts. And he could strengthen your desire to follow him and empower you to walk in his will and his ways. That's what the spirit is for. It wasn't meant to do all of these fanciful things that people sit up here. They lying. They lying on the spirit.
They don't understand, like, the belief is the start of it. It's, you believe first, and then
You get the Holy Spirit, and then you start walking it out.
Right. And you start interpreting, you actually interpret this way better.
Yeah.
If you won't interpret it, like I interpret this way different.
You can't interpret it.
So
That's
He allows you to.
Right.
There's so many people who read the book. Hitler read the book. All these people read the book. Oh, I read it. It's nothing.
Because you can't, the carnal mind can't understand spiritual things. If Chris come around here and tell me this wonderful story about this place that he found down the street and try to get me to go there, and I say, I believe that is a nice place. I believe it. Well, come on down there with me. Well, well,
I can't walk down there, man.
there's no way that I could be able to convince Chris that I believe what he's telling me unless I go over there with him and look at the place. Otherwise, how do I show that I believe him?
That's why I said, if you love me, keep my commandments.
It looks like something. If you love me, you'll feel all bubbly inside. What verse is that again?
You love me?
I don't know that verse. It don't
What
exist.
verse?
I'll bless
If you love me, you'll feel all bubbly
I know
inside.
what I said.
A new mansion in the Mercedes.
No, I know exactly what I said though. Hey, see, y'all didn't see it, did you? It's in Galatians 24:7 in the book of Churchianity. That's the only way you'll find it.
Which doesn't exist, right? That place don't exist, right? So the problem is that we have to be able to actually define these things. We talk about belief. We talk up here. Let's do this. Let's move forward. I want to go over to 14, chapter 14.
Luke chapter?
No, John. You was in Luke. Yeah. I want to go over to 14 because I want to touch on a couple of things over there. Because this is important. It's important for our understanding, and it's important for our understanding as light dealing with people who proclaim to be light.
John 14.
John 14. And we're going to look at verse 1. Oh, wait a second. Is that verse 1? Verse 1. Be trying to believe in me, believe also. Where was that at? Oh, that's verse. Oh, I want to look at 1 through 9. Because the verse I'm thinking of is 5. 6, I mean. So read 1 down through 9.
Let not your heart be troubled. Believe in Elohim. Believe also in me. In my Father's house are many staying places, many mansions. And if not, I would not have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I shall come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, you might be too. And where I go, you know, and all the way, and the way you know. Thomas said to him, Master, we do not know where we are going, and how are we able to know the way? The way. Yeshua said to them, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you had known me, you would have known my Father too. From now on, you know him and have seen. Philip said to him, Master, show us the Father, and it is enough for us. Yeshua said to him, I have been with you so long, and you have not known me, Philip. He who has seen me has seen the Father. And how do you say, show us the Father?
Okay, so starting here and working our way backwards, thinking about Yeshua and his dealings with the disciples. Again, when we think about the fact that Yeshua is the word of Elohim, the word is the light, the word is life, the word is the Torah manifests, right? So at bare minimum, when we look at things, when Yeshua is sitting up there talking about, if you seen me, you seen the Father, he's talking about his character. Yeshua is walked on the earth and exhibited the character of the Almighty in the flesh. And at bare minimum, when we're thinking about that, we could think about it in regards to Yeshua walking out the principles of the Torah, the laws, statutes, commandments of the Almighty. So even right there, we're seeing where Yeshua is kind of making this thing concrete. Is totally specific. It's not this thing that's like this fuzzy kind of thing. If we're thinking about it correctly, right? He already done told us that he is the light, and we with our Torah reading glasses on, we're able to see that the light is the law, and the law is the character of the Almighty. So if Yeshua walked in the character of the Almighty, if they watched him walk, they saw the Father. So the Yeshua talking to his disciples, these people who knew him the best, gets like confused, like you've been with me all this time.
Asking me to show.
You see them already.
Right.
You looked at me.
Even he enforced, even like from now on, you know him and you have seen, like,
Yeah.
so you know the way, the truth, and the light through me.
Yeah.
You know it at this point now.
Yeah,
You know
you
him.
should. If you didn't know, now you know.
Right.
But I wanted to look at verse 6 here, where Yeshua said to him, I am the way and the truth and the life. I am the way, the truth, and the life. Let's see here. Let's look at Isaiah 35, verse 8. Yeshayahu.
My first
It's a
time.
Yahoo, huh?
That's honey. Yeah. Where did y'all actually get that honey from?
I don't recall. You have to ask the wife. I don't.
Okay.
I ain't been.
Costco. Yeah, we're changing up our shopping. It's a lot of. You got to know where the organic stuff is at.
I go to grocery stores just to pick up a little something.
You already know what you get.
She do all that, and Hisky know because he's the right hand. All right, so Isaiah, Yeshayahu 35, verse 8 says what? Isaiah 35,
And
verse
there
8.
shall be a highway and a way, and it shall be called the way of set apartness. The unclean does not pass over it, but it is for those who walk the way, and no fools wander on it.
Okay, so Yeshua said that he is the way. But again, this way is not something that is abstract. It's concrete. It's the way of, it probably in King James probably says holiness right there, right? The way of holiness, the way of set apartness.
Yeah, but if you think about the way, it's like something. It's a place. It's somewhere you go. It's the way.
Yeah.
It's not like you just sit around. Oh, he did it.
Right.
Well, he's the way. So obviously,
What way is he?
yeah.
Right.
We don't gotta say that. We don't gotta ask that question. What way is he?
Right.
In a
We
way,
can look and know.
In a way, even that, it's a direction any old way. So you can't be just sitting anywhere.
Right.
You can't just
You
sit.
can't just say
You can't
like,
sit in
oh,
the way. Oh, okay, here's the way. I'm sitting here.
Yeah, he
It's a
went the way.
Yeah.
Yes, he went
It's a
that way,
direction.
Mhm.
and I don't have to.
But look what else it say. The unclean does not pass over that way. It don't say that the way made the unclean things clean so that they could pass over. He said that the unclean does not pass over that way.
Look at the word on way.
Direct. That's what it is. That's where Direct Akai got his
another
name.
bullet for my gun.
What?
Way.
Yeah, that's why I'm telling people, you know, all the other stuff wasn't called that. They were talking about followers of the way. Even the scriptures tell you that.
You talking about the Greek way or the Hebrew way?
The Hebrew way.
What's right there?
Right here, what we're looking at is going to be this direct. A road as trodden. So it's a road that's walked on, right? A course of life, a mode of action,
Mode of action.
often adverbial, along, away, because of conversation, custom, journey, manner, so on and so forth.
Journey.
That's it. Where the brown bags keep going?
Oh, BBD?
Yeah.
What's that? The word study is
We gotta get to where I wanted to
you
get
want
to.
you want to look at the BBD. Let's sit here. I'll just pull up the BBD, but I gotta do it this way. Hold on.
Oh yeah, it's different from this.
Yeah, this the iPad one is superior to this, ain't it? Okay, let me pull up the BBD.
Listen, brother.
BBD, the way, road, distance, journey, manner, roadway, path, journey, direction, manner, habit, way, course of life. Wait. We don't want to see that one. Hold on.
That's
Wait.
where you get them.
A moral character.
A moral character. So that you gotta that look like something, like you said.
Yeah. It's not, it's defined, it's distinct. It looks like something. It's the if we're talking about the moral care, and again, we don't even gotta think about it within the verse because it is the way of holiness right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just like the way, it's the way of holiness.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and by the way, the unclean shall not pass over it.
So that means the clean gotta pass over it?
No, the clean's in it, the unclean is not in it.
Wait, what it says the unclean won't pass over.
They will not pass over.
But the clean.
So the clean.
Oh yeah, the clean.
They will pass
The clean
over.
pass over.
Right,
Yeah,
They
yeah.
have to.
So
Yeah.
they ain't just sitting around.
Yeah.
and
They on the
watching
road.
Yeshua walk it.
No.
They ain't watching Yeshua walk away.
Well, it's
They
a
walking
highway.
away with it.
It's a highway.
I like it's a journey. So you're going somewhere.
Yeah.
You're moving. It's
A
like
journey is like how we was in there with them mosquitoes and all that. We took a journey. We took a journey though.
We realized
We
that
was-
wasn't the right way.
I know we wasn't.
But
We needed to persevere a
Yeah.
little bit better than what we did with that.
the main thing is a moral character. So like, what teaches you that moral character? Like, you can't say that I believe and he did it all, but I don't have to show no moral character. I don't have to not steal or these different things that dad trained on, or these like it builds your character. So what's going to build your character? That you have to be moving in character building to prove that you believe.
Or I don't have to take care of the poor or the fatherless or the widow.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's true.
That's been done away with.
Yeah, nah,
Oh, that's in James right there.
you ain't got to do none of that.
That's God's job. That's what they do. That's
I'll pray for you.
Pray for you.
I'm hungry, brother. Let me pray for you.
Pray for you.
Okay, but when we look at this rightly, right? When Yeshua talks about when he says, "I am the way," we can understand that because we're able to go back and look in the so-called Old Testament and see where it talks about this so-called way and what it entails. It entails righteousness. It entails you walking in a certain way. It entails you keeping his commandments. But look at this one here. In let's see here, 32, Jeremiah 32.
That's right.
And 39. Read that verse.
Just one.
Just 29. Just 29.
Matter
of fact, read 42.
That's what I was about to say. And I shall give them one heart and one way to fear me all the days, for the good of them and of their children after them. And I shall make an everlasting covenant with them, that I do not turn back from doing good to them. And I shall put my fear in their hearts, so as not to turn aside from me.
Okay, when we think about what that's talking about, that's the new covenant.
New covenant.
That's the new covenant. That's the spirit being put into you, changing your heart and changing the manifestations of your heart by the law being put inside of you. Oh, and by the way, Yeshua said he is that way.
Yeah, he is.
That way that is going to be given to you. Oh yeah, that's Yeshua.
Right. So they can't get around it by saying, "Oh, that's for Israel."
Yeah.
That ain't for the church.
That's not for the church.
Because Yeshua is.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. But this whole distinction,
Body, you're gonna go a different way from the head.
this whole distinction is just totally made up to begin with, right? But when he says he is the way, we have to understand that means something. But it's not.
You really should say, "I am the example."
Right? Yeah, but he's poetic though, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying.
And he's the master teacher. He's always teaching. So he could have said that, but like, what would that have meant if he said that? Like, he has to say it. He got it. He's always teaching us every time he opened his mouth.
Like if I give an example, somebody else might still create their own way for example. So he got to say, "I'm the way." Like an example, I could show you how you, like this is an example how I do this math problem, but you might have your own way to get this same answer.
So you ain't following the example then.
That's why he got to say the way. This is more so like there ain't no loophole. I'm the way. There ain't no. This is an example. This is the way. Period. Point blank. There's no.
Well, maybe you gotta say I'm the only example.
Yeah. Like there's no other way.
I'm just saying based on what you're saying, because somebody else will come along and say, "Oh, I got an example too. This is my example."
Yeah, that's what I'm speaking on.
I'm saying all you gotta say is I'm the example. That's what how I meant it. I'm the example. Like you said, I'm the way, and people will be like, "Oh, well, to look to him to just believe," but he was like, "I'm an example. I did something.
Yeah.
Do what I did."
Gotcha.
That's what I meant.
But if we don't got our glasses on, then that don't make any sense to us.
I'm going to interpret that way. But what about those who still mentally
sleep?
Anyway. They're like,
yeah, it don't matter.
So,
however way it go, you gotta have your Torah glasses
on. When they say
on.
I'm the way, though, if we didn't go look it up to find all those things morally, an example. So you say I'm the example. That's an action.
It is an action.
There's something that he's doing. If you just say I'm the way, it's like it's still, to me, it seems more open. It's like you the way, but it don't say the cut. It's not defining.
Yeah. It's always going to be. You're right. It's always going to be open to those who ain't mentally that mind. Like there's minds, but the mind. That's why certain sayings that been around. It really makes sense. Like a mind's a terrible thing to waste. That is a powerful statement because people's mind might, like how you just said, but they're going to interpret it totally different. Like I interpret it exactly, but that's now. A few years ago, I wanted to interpret that way.
So I'm gonna give you a scripture.
Give it to
For Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believeth. Right?
Say it again.
For Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believeth. But that word "in" right there, it means goal. So Christ is the goal of the law. So if you're following the law, the goal of the law is to make you look like Christ.
Right.
But people will take that.
They'll take it as he's the
like, oh, it's over.
It's over. The law's
he
over.
Is the goal of
right.
the law. He is the example. He is the way.
He is the way.
But we have to have on our Torah glasses, our Torah reading glasses to get that though. Because otherwise I'm gonna say, oh, he's the end of the law.
Right. That's what I was just saying.
He's the end of it. But if we understand that the whole point of what he did was so that the law could be put in our hearts, we know that if we're looking at it through the lens of the so-called Old Testament. But if we just looking at it with our half a Bible, our little half a Bible with Psalms.
That's 1/3.
Well,
Paul's right.
I'm being generous by saying half. It's really probably more like a third. Yeah.
Well, that's what it says. You show yourself approved.
Yeah, but the thing that he was talking about studying was the so-called Old Testament.
Right. That's what I mean.
That's what you were supposed to be studying.
Because they didn't have a new
even if you look like if I look at that, if it says study to show thyself approved of Elohim, that's a powerful thing right there. That's some instruction for me to be doing. Like, how do I know that I'm approved of Elohim? Unless I study to show myself approved. Unless I get this light and put it in me.
And to examine yourself. To say to examine yourself. And what you use to examine yourself?
The light, the word, Yeshua, the Torah. All of these things. Like, we can get these things, but we're looking at it from another perspective. We have to be able to get people to look at it from that same perspective, or else they're not gonna get it. Because you can sit up here with somebody with the Bible and y'all sitting up here going back and forth. Oh, you got that verse? Oh, well, I got this verse. But actually what you're doing is foolishness, because how can I fight your verse with my verse? It's all one thing. Yeah. It got to be one thing. I can't fight you with another verse. I can't fight it. You got to figure out how they all go together.
That's why I said they should all be together in unison, not conflict or contradiction. It doesn't.
I got to the place where if I look at something in the scriptures and I don't understand how it's true, I'll say I don't know before I try to make it work.
Trying to make it just anything.
But what I won't do is consider it to be some kind of contradictory thing. It's just something that I don't understand. It's something that I got to be able to work to figure out how it works. But to fight a verse against a verse, what I should be doing is figuring out how these two verses work together. Because the whole thing worked together. It all works together. If you sitting up here making them work against each other, that's wickedness, because you causing confusion.
If you're saying Paul is saying something different than Yeshua said,
that's wickedness.
And
say
to confirm what you were saying about, them searching the scriptures, Paul tells, the elders, Peter and Paul, they all decided what they was going to put on the Gentiles, right? And so they tell them to abstain from pollutions of idols, which is a law.
That's Torah, yeah.
And from fornication, which is a law.
Yeah, that's Torah, yeah.
Things strangled, which is a law.
Yes.
Wait,
and from blood. which is the law.
What's thing strangled?
Like, and because there was a certain way you had to kill the animal.
Oh yeah.
It's really the same thing as the next thing, the same from blood. Because if you strangled it, you probably didn't get the blood out. So there, those things, really all of those things are connected with idolatry. Basically, what they were saying to the Gentiles that was coming in is that I'm going to give you these 4 basic things that you must not do in order to be counted among us.
Right.
And all of these things are connected to idolatry. So in other words, you got to turn from idolatry to be counted among us. Oh, and by the way, when we come together, we're going to look at the law of Moses
exactly.
on the
That's what I
Shabbat.
was gonna say. The next thing they say, for Moses of old time had in every city them that preach him, being read in the synagogues every Sabbath day.
Mhm.
So that was the scripture they were searching out.
Right.
Yeah, you gonna look at Torah on Shabbat.
And you're gonna learn.
Yeah,
What you should and should.
but you can't come around here with these
Start
idols
with
on
these,
you.
yeah.
You got to
Don't
get
come up in here with that.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like, get rid of this all right, like
Yeah.
on the door. Get rid of this.
Jump Street.
Yeah.
That's up.
Jump straight.
Done with that.
And then while you're in the synagogue, you'll learn.
Mm-hmm.
What's so crazy is to me, like being blinded by certain things and not following the commandments. The commandments are not even meant to make you a bad person. Nothing about the commandment
That's what I'm
makes
saying.
you a
It
bad
don't
person.
make it-
And
don't make any
it's like
sense.
nothing, like from the food, it's not good for you. You're gonna have fat around your heart. You're gonna have like nothing about his rules or however people want to take it is going to make you
But
a bad
though,
person.
how can we not eat pork though? That bacon is good, ain't it?
Yeah, but it's not. It's good taste wise, but for your body. No, I really had to just cold turkey everything. Like there was no winging off. Like each day, that's why I say each day things keep getting exposed to me, and it conflicts my heart and my
How you
spirit.
doing with the pork? With the cut off of the pork?
She cool with that.
No, I just don't like the seafood thing.
Yeah, she doesn't like that we cut off the seafood. And
Okay.
that's bad. You know?
Fish is, you can still eat fish.
But we were like heavy into
Shrimp and all that.
calendar.
Yeah.
No, it's just been like I said, it's a cold turkey. So she's like, "What? We can't."
I can't talk about people because I had a different experience. You had to talk to my wife about those
Yeah,
things.
he's never.
But here's the thing. I did.
I'll talk to y'all afterwards about it.
Yeah, because we got. I grew up not eating those things. I
Mhm.
grew up at Adventist, and then I always like the way my judgment. I remember my mind being upset with my mom because we'll be at family gatherings. We're the only Adventists in my family. They're them. We got all this stuff on the table. Like it's like I come out with just like don't eat that. Like and so when my mom be gone, my aunts and them are sneaking me. So like, come on, like, Lorraine's crazy. Here it is. So when I got
Mhm.
my own place, and I hate that I thought like this, but I remember this when I got my own place at 18. I said, I'm buying this is my house. I'm doing everything that I always wanted to do. And that's how I picked up those habits. And it was, and had them for the last,
That was just some straight rebellion.
Straight So like I didn't grow up, and so on her behalf, it's my fault because she grew up into being able to have the luxury of these bad things. And here I come 2 weeks ago, well, like this. Listen, ain't none of that. We get rid of all this stuff. It's unclean. So she's just, it's like, Mom, so I have to educate her and let her know my way of living was all the way wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a learning experience for her because she can. I take it as a blessing, honestly, that God has allowed me to have the type of child that I have. He doesn't let me dwell on the fact that I brought her in that way. He's showing. She gets to learn with me. So her mind capacity is a little bit different than a little kid that is. Why am I like? It's more. So I look at it as I count a blessing. Like she gets to learn this and what she takes and do it as she becomes an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Her spirit's gonna be convicted because now she knows she's 13 coming into a new way of living. So she can probably pick it up better than a child. So I kind of count it as a blessing to just dwell on the negative that I'm like just keep beating myself down. I'm just gonna move forward. What am I doing now?
That's all you can do is just go forward. It ain't no sense in even trying to think about, well, why was it? Why would I do it like this? Then I just go ahead and move forward. Because that's all you can do. You can't go back. Nobody got no DeLorean to go back in time
They might have
and start
that.
over
They
again.
might have that.
But you should also count it a blessing that he didn't come back with a piece of pork in your mouth.
So yeah, you got time.
The time that was given,
Yeah.
you were awarded that time. You
Yeah.
enjoyed that pork.
It's a
You know what I'm
blessing.
saying? And it's a blessing he didn't catch you with it in your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that-
where does it say that?
You said that to me. I be thinking about that. Like,
Mhm.
66 or something.
yeah, I ain't trying to get caught with no pork in my mouth
Yeah.
or
I
the
had my
bread.
last sport
It,
when I was I remember I found out that I couldn't eat it anymore.
this story is kind of. I don't think you should tell this.
it was like a going out. Like
It's a little wicked. Go ahead, tell it. Go ahead, tell it.
Well, I found out I couldn't eat it anymore, and then
You
I was
believed
like,
it too,
huh?
and believed it.
Yeah. 'cause
Okay,
they
go
said it
ahead.
to me in the Bible.
All right, go ahead.
And then I was like, oh, this is terrible. So I went to work. I worked at Eaton Park. So I got myself a little cup of clam chowder. I didn't really eat seafood but I like clam chowder. So I got myself a cup of clam chowder and a bacon cheeseburger. And that was my last pork. I sat down at the table and I was like, this is my last. This is my last pork.
So you said it's your last pork, so I'm gonna make it last.
I was my last one. And
I ain't even mad at it.
And I ate it.
You better mess with it. She like,
And I ate it, and then I never picked it up. I never ate it again. I never did it again. But whenever I talk to people now, I have grace with people because I'm like, it's you in a certain way your whole life.
yeah.
It's hard for you to get out of that mindset. People who've been doing it, they can look down on people all they want. But if you are all, you know what I mean? Like it's hard to change what you've been used to eating.
Mhm.
And food is one of our most carnal things. Like you think about it, the tree in the garden, the first sin was over some food. Like
biting
And
into
then,
into
and then
some
she said it
food.
looked good. It was like it changed the
Yeah, it
whole.
looks so
Once he
good.
said it, it was like it looks
that does look good,
Looks
right?
bomb.
And
and I
so,
was hungry.
so like
She might have been hungry.
Bad for you. Look.
and taste good too.
But you know
They
what?
taste
A
good,
lot of
too.
habits that would have been harder for me to let go. I'm not saying it's easier, like, oh, it's a piece of cake, but the more I get in tune with him, it has been easy to just stop. Like,
Yeah.
I'm being honest, it's not a process with me. It's like
You're
the
able
more
to-
I get into him,
yeah,
it's just like I want to.
that's
I don't-
that's
Yeah.
Because I
relationship
feel like conflicted.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Without somebody saying it, without saying this, that, I'll be like, it's
That's
like
the
I
spirit.
get
That's
so
the Holy
it's not a
Spirit.
process with me. I'm talking about this is like overnight. And I'm not saying like I'm perfect. I'm just saying my desire is like even if half of me desire, it's a bigger half be like, huh? Wow, you gonna do that? Like
do that?
I
He might
can't.
be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Like my fear for
That is
him
so
is
funny.
my fear for
You
him is
said
getting
that.
greater. It's my fear of God is
Yeah.
greater than my fear of anything. My
Exactly.
fear
And
of
that's
what
what
somebody
he
could do to me. My fear for God.
Right.
Like I'm getting more and more like, and that's why I'm saying it's easy, but it really is because my fear is greater than any desire that I had prior to
Mhm.
this
That's
walk.
the
I started
way
walking
it's
with
supposed
him.
to be.
That's the beginning
It's
of
supposed to
wisdom.
be from the inside. It's supposed to be from
Yeah.
your heart.
So it wasn't a process. Like
Out.
we still haven't took the meat back, but we ain't cut into that meat. Like it's still.
She was gonna throw it away.
Yeah, he told me to take it back because I was going to throw it. So we literally haven't like.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of little ways I share with you. I'm like, I've been used to getting free stuff. Like I don't be paying for medicine. Like we was in a store and I'm like, it's so crazy. But the desire is there. The desire for me to do right by him is so stronger. Like I won't feel right. I won't be able to live with myself. Yeah. Like 2 weeks in a couple of days, I had a breakdown on the 29th of January. I had a real bad breakdown. And like I just kept feeling like my spirit was saying I asked him like, what you want me to do? Like I just had a breaking point, and it was just like I felt that he was saying, "Come to me." Like so, I just start wanting to get right with him.
Yeah.
You know what? Pork wasn't no problem to me because after I found out where chitlins came from,
Oh,
man.
When I
But that
smelled them on the stove, I
but
was
that
eating
didn't
them.
bother me.
Like,
I know where it come from. I know.
I
Every,
know.
But I'm gonna say what was bothering me was
I still ate
finding
them.
out, finding out shrimp
Mm.
and crab legs.
I knew all this and
That
still
was
ate
my
it.
weakness because I ate that stuff almost every day. Me and Terrence, we would go out to the club, go out to the expensive restaurants, eat crab legs, shrimp, and steak, lobster too.
Mhm.
That was my diet. That was part of my
I
dietary
love
rituals
lobster.
to eat.
Yeah.
So when I found out that I couldn't do it no more, I was like, oh no, not this, not this, no. But I did.
Everybody
But I
has.
did do it,
Everybody
brother.
does have their something. Everybody's something is
has their
different.
something.
Mine wasn't food because that's how I grew up like that. I wasn't. Even though you grew up like that, then you was like, well, I want to do it.
Because
For
they
my
would
own
sneak me
self.
pieces, my family, and it
You
was
found
good.
out that it tasted
Yeah, they
good.
would.
Yeah.
They would like. Lorraine is crazy. Here, take this. And
Mhm.
I'll be eating it, and I'll be like, "Oh, I really can't eat this." And then if my mom was around, it like it was so. Then I'll be staying over my family's house too. You figure I'm over her brothers for the weekend, and they're not living by her rules. I'm
Yeah.
like, here, Monet, and the food is good. I never had this
That's
flavor.
wickedness too. How you gonna be giving somebody
Yeah.
else's child?
Yeah, that
something
is.
that ain't gonna be
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I really would be mad at her, like, but you know, a lot of things. I mean, it's fine. Like I know that once I'm done, my testimony will be great to somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, because I actually did stray away and live things my way, and I actually can like show them, you know,
Mhm.
different. If whether they listen or take from it is on them. But I
Yeah.
can show 'em.
My thing was weed. I love weed.
You like that plant?
I
That's
love
what he
smoking
did.
weed. Oh
I
my
don't like
goodness.
weed. I can't smoke. I get paranoid.
I loved
Yeah.
it. That was my favorite thing to do right there. If I didn't have nothing else, I had $5 to go.
And that's another thing. Like, what about the Christians that's thinking it's okay to smoke weed, saying it's from the earth? They're abusing the message too. Like you're really.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
didn't hear that one yet.
it
Oh,
is.
there's
Somebody told me
No,
that.
It
there's
is from
Christians
the
that
earth.
smoke weed and say it's
It is
okay,
herb.
and they say it's herb is from the earth. God put it there.
But the herb
Well,
is meat.
I know, but both of those things are true. It is from the earth,
It is from the earth.
and he
God-
did put it there.
But not
Did he
to
make it to smoke?
no.
No.
And that's what I'm saying.
No,
and
he
that's
did
what they
not.
say, and they really enforce that.
If you're making a tea or something, you know what I'm saying? Hey, I ain't gonna argue with
That's
you.
different.
I
But I
ain't gonna
wasn't
argue
drinking no tea.
with you. No.
So
I was
somebody
rolling up
tried to
some
tell me,
blunts.
Poppy seeds came from the earth too.
Hey,
That's
Yeah.
where heroin's made. I said, yeah, but it's
Yeah.
formulated to mess you up, man. I said, that's not what's intended.
Yeah, well, that's anything that make you an addiction or something. That's
Yeah.
another thing of like that's you can't control that. That's
Yeah.
it's a fact that cannot be controlled.
We
So,
all have found things to justify our ill actions though in the past.
correct.
You know?
And it's again, we talk about the light. The light is bringing you out of darkness, is exposing those things that are exposing the darkness to actually be darkness. You know, if you do things knowingly or unknowingly, you know, once that light is manifest in you, you going to do one or two things. You're going to walk in the light, or you're going to ignore the
Or you're
light.
gonna hate the light, like it said, because you're gonna keep that dark. So you're gonna hate
Well,
it.
yeah. If you're not walking in the light, you actually are hating the light.
Mhm.
If the light's there and you're not walking in it, you actually are hating it. You might say that you ain't hating it, but
You are.
the manifestation, what you're doing, is showing that you hate it by not walking in it.
And I mean, I think what you just said, Lauren, is your name Lorraine? I'm gonna say it right.
Come on.
No,
Yeah,
that's her
Monet.
mom's name.
Oh, your mom's
Yeah.
name. What's your name?
Monet.
Monet. I'm sorry. What I was thinking is that what you were saying before about how what the word of motivation is coming from, like that's what it's supposed to be. Like
Swear.
if somebody if you're only doing stuff because somebody's telling you
Mhm.
to do it,
It's not.
Then-
It's not gonna be real.
yeah,
And-
it's just
and-
like a child.
And you'll
you
be
know?
and you're not gonna be happy doing it.
Yeah.
You're gonna be miserable. You're gonna be. It's not gonna bring out. It's not bringing out anything good in you because you're not doing it. And that's why I said, like, I'm using myself because honestly, I would have never thought that I would have been able to just stop doing certain things that I've been used to doing, whether if it's eating this way or what, but I don't feel comfortable at my walk. I don't feel comfortable in my own skin now doing something. So that's how it's been so easy. But it's not really. I'm saying like it's easy, but it has been easy
because of the change that happened in you. So it's not gonna be easy for someone who is just carnal and just doing what they want to do and feeling okay and justified in it.
Right.
But as soon as you start getting a personal relationship with the Most High, now there's certain things you can do and certain things you can't do.
That's why I said I don't be comfortable. You know, I wouldn't even be comfortable. I'll be like,
well, what's going on inside of you is called the work of the Holy Spirit, Ruach, and the new covenant is being placed in you. And that's why you're not wanting to do these things, because it's being placed inside of you, and it's like it would be basically going against
the new covenant.
You know what I mean? What's going on inside of you? You would be, resisting that thing that inside of you wants to be done.
It affects people differently, Like I'll give you an example. Me, I was stripped of everything. You understand? Everything that was not a Yah, I was stripped of it. There was a point when I was crying out in my bedroom. I was like, God, Allah, Jehovah, whoever you are, I don't know what to call you no more. I said, but I know you said Satan to see the entire world, and if possible, even the elect. I said, I do not want to be in that category. I said, so I'm tired of hearing what man got to say. Show me yourself.
That was my breakdown.
So it felt like it was a hard pill for me to swallow, because I thought I was getting some type of cult or something. And all of a sudden, all this worldly stuff, and I had a lot of money, and I was very popular, but everything started getting stripped from me. Till I thought I was being cursed or something for doing it. But then I realized that as it was getting stripped, I was also being shown what was very important and what was very pleasing to the Most High. So I came to grips with that, and a lot of stuff that I would desire in a carnal way started disappearing. Sex, watching entertainment. I can't even listen to rap music no more. I can't watch crazy movies.
And I'm a music person.
I can't even watch football no more because I'm not even interested in it. I've been so addicted to sharing this word. It just overcame me. So yeah, it does happen. It's called the greatest awakening ever.
I think that I think we're gonna shut down at this point, but I think that thinking about what we looked at in terms of Yeshua dealing with being the light, being this manifestation of righteousness. It's important for us to be able to understand that not only in our own lives, but as being light, being able to express that to those that say they are followers of Messiah. This walk looks like something. This walk is not just about this thing that happens, only on the inside of you. Something happens on the inside of you, and then it causes you to do something. It causes you to live and walk and be a certain way. It's not just something that happens in your mind only. Something happens in your mind, but then it causes you to do something. Something does happen in your heart, but then it causes you to do something. If I say that I believe in the light, it causes me to walk in the light, which caused me to be a son of light, to walk down this specified way, and be in this specific truth and live this life that's attached to something being the creator and sustainer of all things. So saying all that, for now, I think, well, hold on a second. For now, we're going to go ahead and be done with this here. Well, I guess next week I'll be at the prison, but the week after we'll, y'all willing, we will continue, get back into the Torah portion, and go on from there. So as far as that, we'll go ahead and be done with this broadcast.